Twilight Gets a Puppy. By TDR. Chapter 44. Boast Barkers. Epilogue. Part 1. Golden Oaks Library. The library door slammed shut as a pissed-off white unicorn stormed out. Twilight, Ross, and Applejack watched the door for a moment from where they sat around a table before Applejack turned back to Twilight. "She took that better'n I thought she would." Applejack shrugged. "Her shop was smashed, I'm amazed she took it this well." Twilight sighed. "You're taking it surprisingly well too. I don't like it, but I can see it weren't really her fault. Sides I kinda asked for it by challenging her." Applejack sighed. "Had time ta cool my head a bit and think about it, and she kinda needs ta boast like that ta do what she does." Ross nodded. "So Pinkie Pie blacklisted hey?" Applejack let out a whistle. "Ta be honest, being on that list is a lot worse than it sounds. Ya got no idea how much ya want something after you're told ya can't have it. Twilight and Ross keep me from stuff all the time." Spike huffed, walking out of the basement into the kitchen. "So how long's she gonna be in town?" Applejack continued, offering the annoyed Spike a small wave. "Probably another week or two. The insurance adjuster wants to argue with me about what is and is not covered under the town blanket insurance policy for visitors." Twilight smiled. "Mr. Nitpick gets very cross with me when I read him back exact lines of the claim scrolls without looking. Trying to claim she isn't covered due to her not being a resident is only a factor if the damage caused was not by a resident or the actions of a resident. That part was only put in place due to the wild storms from the Everfree. Yeah, I heard about that. That guy's a pain." Applejack chuckled. "Glad you're on our side. If Big Mac didn't enjoy doing Tha Farm's taxes, I'd see if you were interested." "He enjoys doing taxes?" Twilight asked. "Says it's relaxing." Applejack shrugged. "So how's that claim looking?" "Trixie should have her bits for the claim before the end of the week. It helps that Ross was inside the wagon and can confirm a number of the more substantial parts of the claim," Twilight pointed out. Nitpick tried to say his observation wasn't valid because he wasn't a government employee, to which I reminded him that Ross is a library assistant appointed by Princess Celestia herself. He then tried the claim of a non-equestrian speaking observer, to which Ross recited the full rule of law he was speaking of, pointing out the errors in Nitpick's logic, just like I told him to. "Woof." Ross shrugged as Twilight rolled her eyes. "I am quite aware making him offer you a sample of his magic was your idea. As was telling him his magic tasted like flat root beer." Twilight grumbled. "Anyway, the real culprits are punished, though from my understanding their parents have something in store for them too. I've danced loopholes around Nitpick long enough that he's debating proposing to me. Trixie's kicked back in a hotel for a while and all's well in the end." "Woof," Ross commented. "Right, almost. We have no idea where Rainbow Dash is. Rarity's mad at me and Fluttershy is pissed off at the two foals who lured a baby Ursa into town. She's also mad at me because I didn't ask for her help. Fluttershy'll be fine sugar cube. She probably already knows the name of the mother and has tea with her. Can't help ya with Rarity, but Dash'll show back up. She tends to disappear for a day or two if she gets real embarrassed." Applejack offered. "Why did she get all flustered like that anyway?" Spike asked, waddling back into the room with a sandwich bigger than himself. "Folks thought that pair of us were an item for a while. Cow say how close we are. We ain't, but that don't mean nothing to the rumor mill." Applejack muttered. "Really, cause you were pretty flushed too." Twilight grinned, with Ross cracking a smile as well as his ears perked up. "Ain't like that. Just sorta embarrassing being called out like that. My barn door don't swing that way." Applejack protested. Any further teasing was cut off as the front door burst open and a dark blue alicorn burst into the library. Her wings flared out wide, the starlit void of her mane whipping wildly, the bulk of it streaked with white as shooting stars shot across her mane and tail. The alicorn's eyes were a bright red and she had noticeable bags under them. Perfect, just the ones we wished to see. Luna bellowed in the royal cantorlet voice as she strode forward towards the table. Young Spike, we are parched from our flight, would you be so kind as to make us a coffee? Luna continued, not noticing that Spike's sandwich and the young Drake were plastered against the wall from the power of her voice. Spike stammered, looking to Ross, who shook his head. We don't have a coffee maker at the moment. We're still moving in kinda. Twilight was about to protest that when Ross slapped a paw over her mouth and slightly shook his head. Ah, pity, perhaps we shall get something from the local shop, post haste then. Luna continued, looking back at the door. Hey ta, break it to ya princess, but that town's one coffee shop got eaten by an Ursa last night. Applejack stated, not sure what was going on. Most unfortunate, but we bring news. So our caffeination must wait a moment more then. Our sister has informed us that you wish to know your origins, young Ross. Luna explained. We know fully of them, though we must admit we are unaware of how you came to be here. Really? Twilight and Ross both sat up, looking at the princess, and even Spike took interest. Truth, we are the creator of the moon dogs after all. 'Tis a sad thing when one of our great, 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 great. The four at the table glanced to each other as Luna continued on like a broken record, slowly starting to list to the side before snapping back to full alertness. Great, great, grand foal. Or pup. Honestly, we are not sure what the term is though. Tia considers all ponies her little ponies, so perhaps we should come up with a cute, easily marketable term such as that. Luna considered. Nonetheless, we feel the need to inform you that you are not the only one. Why there are currently several of you dancing around. The others looked at Ross, who remained where he had been at the table. The moondog blinked and tilted his head a little, looking at Luna. Why are there so many of you all, oh pony feathers? Luna muttered the last, falling forward with a crash and smashing through the table, hitting the ground, her wings askew. All of them were seconds away from full-blown panic, when loud snores came from the Night Princess, the noise enough to rattle the windows in the library. Twilight stared down at the Luna goddess. Her flank in the air as her back legs still retained their standing position, her face buried in the remains of Twilight's table and dishes. Only her horn remained poking out of the limp mass of mane that pooled around her head in the crevasse of the table. The group watched for a few moments, seeing nothing else happen before Twilight sighed. Spike, take a letter. Twilight stated. Dear Princess Celestia. Please come and get your sister. Author's note. Because someone wanted it. Overly caffeinated Luna returns. Briefly. End author's note. End chapter 44. Boast Barkers. Epilogue. Part 1.